Welcome to Smellbads Gaming. We're here in Hangman's Alley to continue our Let's Build. In this session we're going to set up the power and the water. One of the problems with Hangman's Alley is the lack of space. The good news is, because the settlers don't come down this end, there's some sort of invisible wall that prevents them. It means we can utilise the ground areas and so on for things that settlers aren't required to go to. So it's not good to put farming or shops down this end because they won't go to it, but things like water and power, it's a very good place for utilising the space that you have. So we're just trying to build a ramp here so that we can get some stuff higher up, which will be where our power goes. Now we're going to use the small generators. This character doesn't have science 4, I think it is, for building the fusion reactors or whatever they're called. So yeah, the best bang for buck is the small generators. We're going to start with about 24 power, so what's that? That's 8 generators. And later on, as we build up our defences, we'll be able to add fairly easily additional generators. By the time the settlement's finished, we'll probably end up having somewhere in the range of 50 odd power in total. It depends how many laser turrets get put in. So here's a problem with the Hangman's Alley, is trying to sink stuff into the ground. But there's always 2 ways to skin a cat, so we're just going to put a ramp in instead. This is only temporary. Once we've actually finished the settlement, this stuff will come out because we won't need to go up here. Now, even though the space is limited, once you start building up like this, you can actually get quite a bit of, I guess, flat surface in which to build things on. And there's the start of our platform. So as you can see, we've only got a 4 cube area, 2 by 2. On that space we can get 48 power. Now, if you try that with a medium or a large generator, you're only going to actually get maybe 1 of each of those, maybe 2 mediums, but they're only 5 power. So, you know, it makes sense to use the small generators. And you can get them in place quite snugly using the rug glitch. I can't remember who actually did this first. If I remember, I'll shout out on Twitter and maybe put it in the comments or the description. I can't quite remember who I saw do this. And it's about this point I'm thinking maybe I can be cheeky and stick one of these new Vault-Tec generators in. You know, I've not tried this before, so you got to try these things, because otherwise you can't figure out if they'll work. But as you can see, it's just too big. In hindsight, if I'd used the rug glitch, it is possible, I guess, that I could have actually placed it into the wall. Not very realistic, but hey, yeah, sometimes you've got to do these things. And people get in my way. Luckily there's not many settlers in this settlement at the moment. I've just got some companions, and I think it's Sheffield. Yeah, I think that's all I've got here. So we start putting them up there, and as you can see, they can be positioned very nicely. and we rinse and repeat for the rest of them. Now I always like preparing what I'm putting up there first, like I've done. I find it's quicker because you're doing one type of thing at a time. You can do it however you want. You can even actually do it up here. You can stick the rug down and put the generator down, and that way you're not running up and down the stairs. But what you'll find is that you run out of space and fall off, like I nearly did there. And a bit fiddly, but once you get them in line. That one's crooked, but do I fix it? No. Just leave it. And the cool thing with where I've put the power here is that if I want to do another level of power, there's no issue. I just put another frame flooring over the top, and then I can stick another 48 power worth of generators in. I don't think I can go one level higher than that because of the build limit, the height build limit. Might be able to, but and even though there's something sticking out of the wall there, as you can see, that thing, you can push a floor into that usually without any problem, and then you can push your generator through that as well so that it sits where you want. Now, one of the problems with settlements is the fact that if you don't get to your settlement in time to defend it, and it loses, which it's got a 50% chance of losing, it doesn't matter what your defense is, or in my experience it doesn't. It randomly chooses what to do, what gets damaged, destroyed, and so on. So even though these things will be completely inaccessible to any attacking mobs, it is possible that one of the generators will be damaged. So what I like to do is basically create almost like a failover where the power, if one generator goes out, it doesn't impact the rest of the power, whereas if you have them all in line, then one goes out, anything after that gets wiped out as well. So the way I'm doing it here, as you'll see, is each row of generators is independent of the other row. So each generator, only if it goes out, it's the only thing that gets affected. No other generator gets affected. Of course, if all four at the back go, then you're stuffed, but that's very unlikely. And we're just trying to get them all nicely lined up. As you can see, they sit very close together, maximising the space. You know, we've got 4 across without any problem. We're going to have 4 deep eventually, and that won't be a problem, except I should really put a railing behind me and take the floor one further out, because I can guarantee, knowing me, I will fall off. At least it's not a long drop like at Finch Farm or Grey Garden, where if you fall and you happen to be up on the overbridge, or overpass, whatever the term is, and known to most people, you will die. Unless you've got free falling legs, but I don't on this character. Just about got our power hooked up. And then after the power, we're just going to do enough power for some basic defense and our water at this stage. We'll add more power later. But once the power's done, we will sort out our water. And there's another cool trick that works very well in Hangman's Alley. Hangman's Alley is really the only... Oh, there I go, falling off. Hangman's Alley is really the only place that you need to use the trick. Or possibly Jamaica Plain. But because of the space limitation and the rough ground, how dare I do falling off, had I bothered putting a railing up, it would have saved me a bit of grief, but you know, it is what it is. And we'll just put the last one in for now and wire it up. So whether these get put behind a wall, I might put a wall around them, I'm not sure yet. They are pretty high up, but if I'm here and the settlement has been attacked, it is feasible that they'll chuck a grenade up. They do have a habit of doing that, and that could seriously damage your power output. So we have our initial power, and where that stair goes up, that will eventually go, and the platform will be completely supported by beams coming down, or poles, or whatever you want to call them. So I should be getting onto the power, the water now. No, being a bit of a pedant here and thinking, oh, it's not supported at all, so I'll go up and support it, make it look a little bit more realistic, even though later I'm probably going to have to get rid of it to put more generators in. And just about fall off again. Now what I should have done here is let it clip there, or snap there I should say, and then try and put another one in. But you know, you mess around with these things and hope to get them in place. Now one thing to note, this is done on a PS4, so there are no mods. We are doing it all using the features of the game itself, and some of the glitches that hopefully they will never ever take away. And the rug glitch in particular is, you could not do this sort of stuff without it. Here I am messing around, waiting to try and get it to go where I want. It's all a bit of a waste of time really. Don't quite know why I was so determined to get that post in. Especially since it doesn't even look right. From down below it does. There it goes, snapping up again. Very painful. But once you're in the moment when you're building, sometimes, you know, rational thought goes out the window. I think I decided at that point to enough is enough. So now what we want is our water. So what you want to do is use the fantastic ground plots that came with Wasteland Workshop, so that you can basically put water anywhere you want. So at this point I think I'm just trying to figure out, you know, how many water I can get in that little corner, and whether or not I think it will actually go in. And as you can see, it goes in quite nicely, but what we want is 3. So we're actually going to manage to get 33 water in this one little 30 water in this one little space, plus there's a hand pump over by the entrance. And the cool thing with these is they actually act very similar to the rugs, and if they're sort of clipping over the top or sitting over the top like that, even though it doesn't look like you're selecting them both, you actually are, and you can move them around. But that's not what I want to do at this point. I think I just about realised that I'd stuffed up, and that wasn't the way I wanted to put them in. So there we go, trying to use the concrete pillar. Without the concrete pillar, also a lot of the stuff, if you didn't have it, there's just no way you could do most of the stuff onto PS4. Bit of a Muppet moment here, trying to figure out what I'm doing. and then realizing I can't do it in place, I'm going to have to do it somewhere else and move it, which is one of the reasons I tend to do like the power and the water before any of the other building at this end of the settlement, and that is because you need the space to sort of get things laid out and then move the whole lot where you want it. So I think at this point I'm just trying to make sure that there it is, trying to sink into the ground too far and going red. Yeah, I'm just making sure that when I do put it in place that it will actually still go where I want it. It can be a little bit fiddly, but once you get it at a right angle, as you can see, it sits very nicely. Why I'm trying to maneuver it even a little more, I'm not sure, because I won't be able to put the pumps in while it's like this. They actually have to be put where it was before. You can't get the pumps to sit into the wall. That's what I'm doing. It's a bit easier to check the height if you're not got other things in the way. So that's the height I want. And am I trying to put the water in? Yes, I am, and that's about the point where I remember that I can't, because you've got to do it when it's over on the ground. But I now have the post at the height that I need. And we can now put these water pumps in. It's a bit fiddly, but it's worth it in the end. And we get this, once we get the 3 in a row, we wire it up now, not later, because otherwise you can have real trouble getting the wiring to work properly, because it does weird things with the wall and so on, and people getting in my way. Again, get out of the way. Like, seriously, go and do some work. Alright, now we wire it up, and the other thing I'm gonna do is put a conduit pole, power pole thing actually into it, because that also makes it easier later if you do need to change the wiring around, because you've only got one thing to change. And these poles go in quite nicely, as you can see. They're very, very forgiving. And normally I would put all 3 of them connected, so that if one goes, the other water isn't affected, but I think I forgot to do that. I'll have to go and fix that later. And now we pick it all up, or drop it, as the case may be. Get out of the way, Ada. And we position it nicely into the wall. That's looking pretty good. And use the power line glitch, which allows you to put it anywhere you want. Doesn't matter how many walls it goes through. Oh, and there I am falling off stuff again. Walls, floors, including actual settlement fixed stuff, it will happily go through the walls. As you can see, it connects nicely. And then just tidy up. So we have 33 water, 24 power. This has been Smellbad's Gaming at Hangman's Alley. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please hit like, and if you'd like more content like this,